it had me at 40 come to an awakening when my life fell apart externally in a number of fashions. It led me to ask the question, what is a man? Who am I? Period. And then second or thirdly, here's the most important question: who am I as a man? I had not, that question was as foreign to me as you know, as anything you can think of up until that point. And I think it is for a lot of men. We don't have this sit down at 16, 17, 18 and go, hey, by the way, we're going to take you out in the woods. We're going to leave you there for a couple of days. We're going to give you some peyote and a knife. You need to come back with like a dead deer and the thing from the top of the mountain. We're going to give you a new name. We're going to teach you what it means to be a man. We're going to tell you of the new responsibilities that you now have as a man and the new opportunities that you have as a man. That part's all missed. We get drunk on our 21st birthday. We try to have sex on our 18th birthday and go, cool, now I'm a man. Right. So we've missed out on that whole initiation, which leads to even more challenges. But even if we were initiating men, we're initiating men now into a culture that, as you said, like puts us down, in the same vein, asks us to rise. And so we have this clash of cultural ideology. Men are trash. Men need to sit down. Men need to shut up. Men need to get out of the way. Right. I remember when that APA study came out defining toxic masculinity. It was like risk taking, stoicism, leadership, and even I don't even think they had aggression, but it was those three biggies that stood out to me. And I remember this because a week later, all of California was on fire, like literally on fire, not figuratively on fire. And there were not protests as the firemen drove and put their lives on the line and led and were stoic and risk taking. I did not see the entire culture with signs going like, stop going to the fires, you toxic masculine men. It was, thank you so much for risking your lives, for risking your friendships, for risking your health, for putting your ass on the line to fucking save us. Suddenly the APA got real quiet. And so I said, that's the conundrum that we're still battling societally.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of times what happens is the result, people want the result of the male that was raised the way that a man needs to be raised, but they want to try to change the recipe. So it's like creating grandma's favorite spaghetti sauce that was impeccably perfect, but you want to dump a couple of cans of Hunt's tomato paste in there and think you're going to have it. And it's a gentler way. It takes less time. It's a little bit more open. And, you know, we've had these conversations around the dinner tables with family members and different people where it's like, hey, I like the way that these men are turning out. These are good men. They're honest. They have integrity. They're strong. They're empathetic. They're all the things I want in a son or a husband. But I don't like how hard you were on them at times. Like, I don't like the way that they had to be, you know, disciplined or connected in different ways. And those are the things that you don't get the result of a strong person without having some level of discipline. I'm so grateful to my father for the strong discipline. You don't understand it when it's happening, by the way.
Right.
But like growing up, the discipline that I was brought up in allowed me to thrive when I found situations that were challenging, because I could rely upon discipline, not on the rules that existed in the new company or not on the rules that existed in the new situation, but on self-discipline. That I learned, okay, if this, then that, I can handle this. I've been here. I've had struggle before. Here's how we do it. Yeah. And it's very interesting and intriguing to me.
Yeah, man. I don't think, and I never have thought, that masculinity needed to be discarded. I think it needed a bit of an upgrade. And that was what I wanted to bring in with Uncivilized as an idea. Was, hey, we're going to still celebrate the primal traditional aspects of masculinity, because the need for them and the desire for them and the biological drive in us, the testosterone in us, will not have those go away. But it now needs to be coupled with, you know, you use the word empathy. with empathy, with compassion, with emotional intelligence, with understandings of the basics of relationship, with understanding sex, with understanding consent, like actual relationality with the feminine or with women. We are not here just to dominate and kill and crush the planet and hope everything works out. We have been underdeveloped in certain areas. But that doesn't mean if, hey, I have a great back squat and I have no bench, that I quit back squatting. I actually add in some benching. And that is what, when I first promoted this idea, it was like, hey guys, guess what? We're not going to get rid of all the old shit. We're going to get rid of the stuff that's problematic in it, but we're going to temper all of it with a connection to something bigger, with a connection to an inner world, with permission to understand that the things that happened to you in your past, painful, traumatic things, actually need to get worked through. We didn't even recognize, I believe, depression in men until the 80s. The fucking 80s. We're not talking about the 50s and the 40s. So think about all those guys who came home from every single war up until that point. Think of the difference of men who came home from Vietnam and the difference of men who came back from Afghanistan and the understanding of PTS. And it still hasn't permeated most of the culture. You go to any police department in the country and be like, hey, how many of these guys are suffering from PTS? And they'll probably be like, none of them. Why? Because if any of them bring it up, they get demoted or they get taken off the line, right? They lose their actual jobs if they bring forward something that they're having a challenge with emotionally. That's in the culture. Just like we hear from a lot from women, I want a more emotionally, I want a more vulnerable man. I want a more sensitive man. Okay, cool. And I've asked this to groups of women. If women listening to this, if you're like, yeah, that sounds great. I would love a more emotionally intelligent, sensitive man, a vulnerable man. Okay, I'll ask this question. What if you have a guy that cries twice a year? Like, oh, that'd be so beautiful if he expressed himself that way and I got to feel him that way. I'm like, cool. How about once a month? And it's like, well, yeah. That'd also be, and we'd connect over our deep heart. And I'm like, cool. How about once a week? How about twice a day? Would you be okay with that? Like strong, you want the vulnerable, sensitive man? What if he cries every hour? Now it's like an instant, like whoop change. Like, no, that's a weak man. I don't want him. I want a leader. I want such and such. So again, there's confusion.
Well, it depends on what you're crying about. At the end of the day, the other thing is if you think that we've had to adjust and adapt, one thing that I don't think is probably talked about very often is what about the changes what about these particular changes have happened across the other gender? When we talk about women in general, right? Women are immediately turned off if you're crying about something they don't find it's appropriate to cry about. If you're crying about something they find it's appropriate to cry about, by all means, that's okay. But if you're crying because you had a bad day at work, I can tell you right now, guys, and any of the ladies listening, please help us understand better. But I don't believe that you're going to be very excited about your man being in that way, being that vulnerable. That's a vulnerability line that immediately becomes a turn off. You're not attracted to that. So we have to remember that these are things that are truthful. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about and make it whatever we want to make it. And people can lie to themselves and all their friends. But the reality is we all know people that got too sensitive and too vulnerable and it flipped on them. And it's not a benefit. They end up getting left, getting cheated on, getting taken advantage of. And you know what their wives say? Their wives say something along the lines of, well, you know, he wasn't really there for me the way I needed him there. Or, I mean, this happens all the time. We're in our mid 40s. We all have friends that this has happened to.
Yeah. Over and over and over again. So this is great. So I'm going to steal that. Because I would imagine now sitting in front of a group full of women and saying, okay, your man's father just died. Do you want him to share that and express that and be with that grief? And they'd most likely say yes. And that'd be a very human thing to say. Now, your man comes home and says, hey, my female boss scolded me via email. And he sobs for the next 2 hours because life's unfair. And how could she? And work's tough. Now tell me, how are we doing here? How are we doing in this relationship? Because what we also, the reason I brought up earlier, the primal and the divine is my two pillars. On some level, we all want to feel two things. This is from my teacher, Dewey Freeman, who's a savant with horses. The first time he said to me, horses need to know where they fit in the pack and are they safe? And I remember thinking, sounds a lot like women. And then my next thought was, sounds a lot like men. And my next thought was, sounds a lot like all of us. And so, do you feel safe? And guys, listen to this. It's not, I would not feel safe in front of a man who just had a tragic thing happen to him. And he goes, no, I'm fine. Said I was fine. I don't want to talk about it. I'm fine. Like, bro, it's written all over you. Something happened to you. You need to get that shit out of you. Or I was horribly abused from, age 4 to 14 by every boyfriend my mom brought home. How you doing? I'm fine. There's nothing left with that. What did you go to therapy? Did you work through it? Nope. I'm a grown ass man. I manned up and I fucking got through it. I'm like, I don't trust you. I don't feel safe around you. So imagine a woman who's got an even higher or heightened sense of emotional radar. When we literally just swallow it and go, nope, nothing. I'm fine. They know that you're out of integrity. You're not congruent with what just happened to you. They will not feel safe around you. They will not trust you. Just like if your emotion is so overblown all the time. I got an email, they told me I'm not doing great at work, and here I am sobbing for 5 days straight. You're going to say, hey, that's not an appropriate response to the stimulus. I can't trust you. I don't feel safe around you. I think that's what the core of what a lot of women are asking from us. But there's also distortions on each side, obviously. And when men, it happens over and over and over, Scott. I've talked to thousands of guys who have said, my partner told me to open up and be more vulnerable. I did. 2 fights later, that was brought up and used against me.
100%.
What did I learn?
100%.
And this is our logical male brain. Our logical male brain goes, cool, I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
You've just taught me a lesson.
What are you gonna cry about it? What are you gonna, how weak can you possibly be? There is no boundary. Those things are going to happen. And the reality is remember the directions and the changes that we talked about that needed to be made are things that everybody will agree on. I've interviewed some really amazing people on this show, some who have had some horrid sexual trauma and major things that have happened, female guests, and they are teaching their boys the right things, how to know, true consent, things that were taken advantage of by them in pretty horrible ways, right? I know things need to change, but at the same time, a lot of the people that are talking about the other changes that have to happen to be people that are not in a healthy relationship that they're guiding you on what you should or shouldn't be doing when it comes to you as a man in a relationship with a healthy woman. My wife and I have had, we've been married 20 years or
Good
more.
for you, man.
Yeah, it's great. We're always growing, always learning, always getting better, and I think there have been lots of learning curves in our marriage, but I can tell you there have been times where, it's not vulnerability, but just complaining a little too much. Like if I find myself complaining and I'm not even a complainer, but occasionally I'll be like, it's just, man, it was tough. It was horrible, blah, blah, blah. I could see the zoned out happening. And I am saying, okay, I'm appreciative of it. Truthfully, I'm appreciative of it because I don't need that. I don't need to go too far deep into what's not working or where I'm not. And it's almost like you get so comfortable. It's like having the comfort you have with your mother, or there's very few people you get that level of comfort with. And when you're married for as long as I have been, which is still a new marriage as far as, I'm concerned, there's a lot to grow and learn in. All I'm saying is that a lot of the things that we see on social media of people telling men what they need to do more of are not coming from women like my wife, who are amazing women, who are independent women, who are strong, who are successful, who are great mothers, who love their life, who love their husband, who love their jobs. Like, it's coming from people who are miserable and want to destroy you as well, so that everybody's miserable together. And that's not cool. That's the opposite of what we're aiming for.
I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah, it's just interesting, and it's a topic that gets thrown under the rug. I always think it's interesting to talk about school. So something else that's really interesting to me when it comes to men is I've always had a frustration looking back on both the previous level of schooling and then what schooling looks like today, and how unfair it's set up to the way the male brain is set up. I mean, we are, every guy I ever knew, minus maybe 3, lived for recess and lunch. Right. And so if I wanted to learn more efficiently and effectively, how amazing would it have been if I had 30-minute learning lessons with, 20 minutes off, or 40-minute learning lessons and 25-minute recess, and, some kind of like break along the way. Meanwhile, we would sit in the class, and if we weren't like the girls in the class who were amazing, I mean, I still admire the way that some of my friends growing up in Catholic school, I went to Catholic school, I had nuns. So, they were even tougher on me because we were rambunctious boys. And we come in from recess with our white shirts and ties, like tied around our necks, thrown around backwards, and our shirts unbuttoned, mud all down the front of our shirts. This is in like the 7th grade, stinking like you've never stunk before. The hall closet just smelled so nasty. And the girls would come in and they'd sit down and they would do everything the way. And I've coached a lot. I've coached boys sports and a little bit of girl sports. It's so different, but we don't acknowledge those differences. Instead, we tend to punish the parts of men that are not like women in the areas that they're great at. And so that's a perfect distinction that I'd love your input on.
Yeah. I got to interview a guy, Richard Reeves, you know that name?
I do know the name. Yeah.
Yeah. He wrote the book of Boys and Men, and he's it's not a Fulbright scholar. First of all, he's a genius, and he works at like the highest research institute in the world. And his whole thing was looking at testosterone levels in young men, times of like who's doing what at what school level, who's excelling at what level. And he just breaks it down statistically and is saying, this does not work. The evidence is there. The statistics are there. The experience is there. We can go anecdotally to where I remember sitting in a chair, like my body screaming as a 3rd, 4th, 5th grader of like, when do I get to go run? When do I get to go chase my buddy? When do I get to go play basketball? But he takes the two together and really says the education system is completely backwards, and has some proposals even for how we change it. And this was a pretty radical one. Scott was saying we could almost start girls and boys in the same grade would be a different age. So I would be a year older, I think, than the girls in my age, in my grade, because developmentally, that's just how it happens. I develop a little bit slower. And to have more recess time, to have more physicality time. I don't have kids, but if I do, I will not put them in a public school system. I will literally be like, your job is going to be out exploring. You're going to be in the surf. You're going to be in the woods. You're going to be chasing shit. You're going to be reading. You're going to be learning the things that need to be learned. But man, I don't know about you. At my age, I imagine my testosterone is lower than when I was 13 through 18. I cannot sit for 6 hours now.
No.
I can't, like I'll do 2 and 3 interviews today. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go to the gym. I have a pool outside. I used to just jump in the pool in between it calls. I'd like chase my dog around. If someone was like, hey, here's the next 6 hours of your life. By the way, this is going to bore the shit out of you. First of all, because it's mostly irrelevant stuff. I have not used the Pythagorean theorem ever. I would lose my fucking noodle. I would lose it. I left grad school. I did a year of grad school for Chinese medicine, walked right into the registrar's office and said, I have to go to Thailand for a year and fight. because you guys have kept me in a classroom for 5 to 6 hours a day for the past year. Yes, I know I'm here voluntarily, but I have so much angst in my body. You know, this is at like age 33, 34. I'm leaving the country to go express all of this energy. I'll be back and I'll finish the program. Now imagine a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old. And then who, even worse, not just is this child punished, they're like, oh, he just needs Ritalin. He's just got ADHD. Like, no, he's a boy. He's a kid. Let him, like, put him in front of some blocks, put him outside. Does he have ADHD on the playground? No, I don't think so. He's very focused. He's very present. He's just got more energy running through his body than we know what to do with. We as men too, we need to learn how to direct that. That's one of the reasons, idle hands lead to challenge. I still feel that with a lot of men. This is why we come back to the age old, like, why are you here? What are you building? It's the very first chapter of my book. What are you building?
Yeah,
You
purpose.
naturally have a lot of fucking energy in your body. What are you going to do with it? I guarantee you, if you sit in front of a computer, if you smoke dope and play video games, if you jerk off to porn 4 times a day, you will not be okay. You got to get out there and start doing some stuff. We are the doing species. Yes, we need to learn how to be. I need to learn how to be empathetic. I need to learn how to be kind. I need to learn how to be compassionate and relational. But I don't throw out the doing part of my life just to bring in the being part of my life. That, and I'll say this, that is the way of the feminine. And it doesn't work for most men. And we're watching the failed experiment of how many guys in their 20s have dropped out. How many guys in their 20s are now suicidal that weren't before? How many guys in their 20s are depressed, are not interested in a relationship, are not having sex, are not working jobs, are not functioning members of society because the experiment has failed?
How
We
about
just won't recognize it.
how about depreciating men to the point where we have depreciated the jobs that only men do to the point that no men want to do them. So
Right.
this is a challenge. We have a problem with trade schools. We can't get enough men to do trades roles. I have a good couple of friends that own HVAC and electrical companies, highly successful. Guys are making 70, 80, $90,000 a year in a market where that's a pretty great salary. And kids are going to college and coming out and not making that for 9 years, 7 years, 6 years, right? But we've depreciated that. And the gap between the number of young girls getting accepted to college and young men getting accepted to college is continuously decreasing for men and increasing for women, which is great. Like, in a lot of ways, I'm glad to see education rewarding those that are most dedicated, and that's a positive. But the negative is that gap of punishing men and depreciating the value of the things that make them good or special or unique are actually depreciated to the point where they end up unemployed and non-productive. And what you're really talking about is purpose. I sat in a restaurant. I went to a bar a couple of weeks ago. It was at the bar at a restaurant, and there was a young couple sitting next to me, and they really reminded me of my wife and I. I mean, they were super young. They were engaged. They had a long distance relationship. You could hear them, and they were playing like, would you rather have more time or more money? And it was honestly, it was playful, and it was kind of nice to listen to because I was there alone. I was up there for a soccer game I had to go to for one of my boys, and my wife wasn't coming up till the next day. So I was killing that evening, and I'm sitting at the table, and eventually I was like, guys, I got to interrupt. And they started talking about something, and he had said something about being a stay-at-home dad. And I said, is that really what you want to do? And she's like, well, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And I was like, well, you guys have a problem. Because if both of you want to be stay-at-home anything, it means that one of you is not producing and you're not protecting the other. And I looked at him and I was like, she wants you to produce and protect. She might not be saying that right now. And she's like, oh no, I'm saying it. That's what she goes, oh no, I'm saying it. And he's like, and I go, dude, do you really want to like retire? You just started working like last year. Like, you're in your first year of work. You're 21 years old. What are you retiring from? And he's like, I don't know. I just want the freedom. And I was like, that's not freedom. that's doing nothing without purpose. And you're going to find yourself very uncomfortable. When you put energy into impact, when you put energy into purpose, into something bigger than yourself, you're going to be providing and protecting and feel better. And because you feel better, you're going to be a better husband and a better father and a better man in general.
Yeah.
So I'm not, and by the way, I have friends that stay at home and have taken care of their families. Their wives are
For sure.
senior executives, unbelievable women. I am not judging a family and their choice. What I'm saying is a young couple both saying the same thing. The dude is confused because it's his job to go do that. And if he doesn't know that, he needs to figure it out pretty damn quick, or she won't be sitting next to him very long.
Yeah. And he is not, this is something I've told to a number of men in their 20s. They say, well, I just want to be happy. And I'm like, I got to be honest with you. I don't. I want to be satisfied. And I'm satisfied at the end of a hard day. I'm satisfied when I write something and I get emails back saying, thank you, that changed my life. I'm satisfied at the end of a fucking hard workout. And maybe I'm old school and maybe this is like, get off my lawn, or I grew up in a time when that was more celebrated. But that feeling of satisfaction to me lasts and is deeper than a feeling of happiness. And have I gone on vacation and been like, man, this is the life? If I was a billionaire, would I do this no, I wouldn't. I would probably do this for about 2-3 weeks and go, you know what? I want to get my hands dirty again. You know what I want to do? I want to get satisfied again. I want to have some tussle. I want to have some struggle. I want to put my skills, my talents, my strength, my intellect, my desire, my ability to penetrate the world. I want to put that up against something. And then at the end, whether I've gotten my ass handed to me by life or on a jujitsu mat or in a gym, or I've won, I'm still going to have this baseline satisfaction that is deeper and longer lasting than the happiness of, hey, I don't really have to do anything, man. I got the day off. Do we need rest? Do we need to have men well rested and well resourced? Absolutely. But I will tell you, young men listening to this, you have an energy in you that if it isn't pushed forward into something, it will go sideways into shit you don't want it to. And I'm with you. I know brilliant stay-at-home dads. I know brilliant moms who make exponentially more money than their husbands ever could. And it is an awesome decision for them to split the family roles that way. But to guys in their 20s, like, you got to get out there, you got to tussle, you got to earn your stripes, you got to fuck some shit up. And I guarantee you, talking as the quote old guy, you will look back on those times when it was hard and you were trying to figure shit out and the deck was stacked against you and you didn't have power in your life and you weren't a 7-figure CEO, and you will go, man, I miss that. I miss those early days of like cup noodle in a 1-bedroom apartment, just trying to feel like, I don't know, I don't have my ass from my elbow right now, but I was going after it, right? I was trying, I was giving my all. I think that invigoration, Scott, in the younger men, when they hear that, something in them comes alive because they haven't heard it before. They've been told, sit down, be quiet, be still, stop being so toxic. If you want to lead, you're a misogynist. If you want to build, you're just dominating over. No. We need that energy in men to come back out. It has to be tempered, obviously, again, with relational understanding and emotional intelligence. But we don't fucking neuter these guys and then go, wow, it's weird that they ended up hooked on drugs and hooked on alcohol and beating the shit out of people in bars or doing horrible things to women or children or the planet. We have to take some responsibility to the message that we give them and then the after effect of that message. And we're unfortunately seeing the after effect of that early, I'll say it, toxic message that was given to men for the last 10, 15 years.
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.